In the first episode of 2026, all the way back in January, we discussed Citizen Kane with Eileen Jones, Orson Welles' famous pseudo-biographical drama about Charles Foster Kane, a newspaper magnate based on William Randolph Hearst, long considered the greatest film of all time. One of the reasons that Citizen Kane was considered the greatest film of all time, at least as far as film critics are concerned, is that it spent 50 years on the British Film Institute Sight and Sound Critics Poll. That is until 2012, when a film finally dethroned Citizen Kane, Alfred Hitchcock's 1958 psychological thriller Vertigo. Tonight we're talking about Vertigo, starring Jimmy Stewart, Kim Novak, Barbara Bel Geddes, and Tom Helmore. Based on a mystery novel, The Living and the Dead, by Pierre Boileau and Thomas Narcejac, which, if the rumors are true, was actually written by the two French authors for Hitchcock to purchase. The rumor was apparently popularized by Truffaut and was later rebuffed by the authors, but the story is that Hitchcock originally wanted to purchase the rights to She Who Was No More, which ended up being purchased first by Clouseau after he made Wages of Fear and was adapted into Diabolique. In the late 1950s, the duo of Jimmy Stewart and Kim Novak would co-star in two films back-to-back, Vertigo being the first and Bell, Book and Candle being the second right after, which we previously covered on this podcast with Eileen Jones. Vertigo has long been called Hitchcock's most personal film, especially with everything we know now about Hitchcock's affairs and alleged sexual predilections. The erotic and incredibly voyeuristic way that Vertigo was shot has been fuel for rampant speculation about how much of himself Hitchcock is showing us on screen, especially Hitchcock's well-known predilection for blonde actresses. Vertigo tells the story of a former San Francisco Police Department detective named Scottie, played by Jimmy Stewart, who has a debilitating fear of heights triggered by seeing a police officer fall off a building as he tried to help Scottie up. Scottie spent his time hanging around his ex-fiancée Midge, a bra and panty company in-house advertiser, until a former college classmate named Gavin Elster hires him to tail his wife, Madeleine, played by Kim Novak. But has been behaving strangely, almost as if she goes into trances and becomes another person. Gavin believes she might believe that she's becoming Carlotta Valdez, a woman from the 1800s who's buried at the Mission Dolores. Carlotta was raised in the Mission but was rescued by a man who built her a house, and she had his child. But he was married to a different woman, and he stole her child and raised her with his wife, while Carlotta was sent into destitution and committed suicide at 26. Madeleine is currently 26, and Gavin worries she might be getting ready to kill herself while in a trance. After rescuing her from the San Francisco Bay when she randomly jumps into the water, Scottie finds himself falling in love with his friend's wife and becoming slowly obsessed with her. She reciprocates the feelings, and Scottie tries to get her to confront these trances where she claims to black out and have no memory except a recurring dream leading her towards blackness.
If you lose me, then you'll know I loved you and I wanted to go on loving you.
I won't lose you.
In the same way that he wishes he could confront his fear of heights. The theme of romantic obsession is one Hitchcock revisits over and over again, as well as the neuroses of individual characters, some fake and some real. In one of the most infamous scenes in Vertigo, Kim Novak is seen to fall from the bell tower, apparently jumping to her death like Carlotta did. Scottie stuck frozen on the stairs since his acrophobia has been triggered by the climb, leading to a dark phase where Scottie begins seeing her everywhere as a spectral presence. Months later, Scottie meets a brunette who looks like Madeleine named Judy, and Scottie becomes fixated on forcing Judy to start looking more and more like Madeleine. Jimmy Stewart, star of films like It's a Wonderful Life and Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, is a dark canvas for Hitchcock to put some of his most disturbing ideas onto. Vertigo was preceded a few years earlier by Rear Window, where Hitchcock pushed Jimmy Stewart into one of his darkest performances as a wheelchair-bound photojournalist who becomes obsessed with the idea that his neighbor murdered his wife, after spending day after day stuck in a tiny apartment watching them. Rear Window pushed the boundaries of voyeurism, and you begin wondering if Jeff actually wants the murder to be true, and what Hitchcock is saying about us as an audience. Would we welcome extreme violence being perpetrated onto a random woman just to relieve our own mundane boredom? It's a question that would definitely pop up again as TV ratings went up with the amount of violence that could be shown. Kim Novak was only 24 when she was asked to do Vertigo after Vera Miles had to drop out because she was pregnant. Jimmy Stewart was 49, and after they followed Vertigo up with Bell, Book, and Candle, would no longer be able to do the romantic lead in movies anymore because of his age. Another thing that makes this one of Hitchcock's most personal films is that he clearly has a deep spiritual connection to San Francisco, to the point where it's a character in the film as much as Jimmy Stewart or Kim Novak. And it's a deeply liminal place in 1958. The Spanish missions are as opulent and preserved as anything in Spain or Italy, yet the city itself was clearly in flux, transforming into the bohemian place which would become famous in the 1960s and 1970s for being the center of hippie culture. Vertigo's dream sequences have some of Hitchcock's most interesting abstract work, which is not something that Hitchcock's movies are necessarily known for, utilizing the cutout work of Saul Bass to show Scottie's mental health crumbling. What made Alfred Hitchcock the master of suspense is that we know long in advance that Scottie is a victim of a convoluted murder plot, with Gavin Elster murdering his actual wife, who is not Madeleine, but having this woman Judy play Madeleine to seduce Scottie, who won't be able to save her due to his fear of heights. Hitchcock knows it's not the audience figuring that out that leads to the suspense, but the audience wanting to know how Scottie will react to eventually figuring out that information. Before I introduce the panel, please like this video and subscribe to the Movie Night Extravaganza YouTube channel. Then hit that bell to get notified whenever we're streaming. Super chats are now open. If you have any pressing questions, send us a super chat, which helps me maintain the expenses for the show, which I am obligated by the rules of the Geneva Convention to stop everything and ask the panel. Another way to help us out is to become a patron and give us money every month. In exchange, you get access to all of our after parties, bonus content, and we'll tell you even more movies we watched recently. Patreon.com/Movie Night Extra. We have a Movie Night Extravaganza Discord. There's an invite link in the episode description, and we have a Letterboxd HQ account. So those are 2 more places to follow along with us. Our show gets simulcast, or if we're not on it at regular time, played later on This Space. This Space is a working class independent media collective, youtube.com/ThisSpaceTV. Subscribing really helps out, or even more, sharing content from This Space and encouraging others to do the same. By working together, we can break through the algorithm. Okay, let me introduce the illustrious panel. Conan Neutron is the co-host and senior producer for Movie Night Extravaganza, host of Protonic Reversal, an independent Film Critics of America film critic, and the frontman for the band Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends. Check out his music at neutronfriends.bandcamp.com. Kristina Oakes is a co-host of Movie Night Extravaganza, a streamer on Twitch, twitch.tv/cosmopolitics, a host at This Space, hosting Kristina's Corner, and is across social media at Cosmopolitics and on Letterboxd at Kristina. Forrest and Kristina have a second show, The Absurdity Space, live on This Space on Wednesdays at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific. Eileen Jones is a film critic for Jacobin Magazine and the co-host of the Film Suck podcast, patreon.com/filmsuck, and the author of Film Suck USA. I, of course, am your host and the guy who knows all the history and runs a bookstore, Forrest Miller. You shouldn't keep souvenirs of a killing. You shouldn't have been that sentimental.
Any excuse for a Jimmy Stewart impersonation, of course.
Gee, golly.
Oh gosh.
Or Tony Curse.
Something crazy is going on. Eileen, welcome back.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
It hasn't been that long this time, but glad you're on for this one. We've had this on the to-do list, I don't know, since this show started. Right?
Yeah.
Like it's permanently like one of the ones like, oh yeah, we should do Vertigo, and then we don't do Vertigo. And here we are,
I know.
Vertigo.
It's such a must, and it's so omnipresent. Once it became the supposed greatest movie ever made, which is so annoying, it's even more just everywhere. Yeah.
But I felt like linking it to Citizen Kane because it's interesting that, like, you know, I mean, at the beginning of the year we did Citizen Kane, and then the first movie to ever dethrone it off the Sight and Sound.
Yes.
The
Vertigo.
I feel like British.
We've already done John Dillman, so we're doing really great with Sight and Sound winners.
I feel like there's something about like the British, like the BFI really likes being like we decide which one is
Yes,
the best.
we'll decide. Thank you.
Please, ma'am, please. Yeah. But this is a case where I remember when that Sight and Sound came out, the one before last, and I was like, oh, right on. Like, and I was like pretty disconnected from it. Like, I wasn't like a voting member or anything, or really paying that much attention, but I was like, oh, right on. That's one of my favorite movies. Great. That's great to hear. And that's well earned. And I say that as a Hitchcock fan. You know, it's like this is for a while this was in my top 5. I've kind of moved it down a little bit since then, but I still love it. It's still a 5-star movie as far as I'm concerned. Not to tilt my hand or anything.
I feel like when you say something is like, you know, like that high up, it kind of does damn it, because everyone's expectations going into whatever it is. Like, that's why for a long time, as I said, when we did Citizen Kane, I didn't watch Citizen Kane because I was like, I'm afraid that, like, what if you're the one person that doesn't like it, or I mean,
this is not the greatest movie ever made.
Yeah, or like that's the insecure version, and then the other version is like, oh, what if everyone's been lying?
Yeah, and there is a lot of that. There's the backlash. There's people that are like, I liked it, but I didn't. You know, it's not one of my favorites. It was good though. You know, and like,
or you read commentary where people are like, "What the hell is? I finally watched it. What's the big deal?"
What's the big deal?
Yeah, or like, you know, or like if Vertigo was a new movie, and then like within like after the first weekend, it's like, oh, this movie's overrated. It sucks. And it's like that's kind of like film discourse today.
Nothing that comes out now, I feel like, could be considered the best movie of all time because everybody turns on whatever it is, and like,
while it's premiering, they turn.
Oh, this movie got nominated for how many Oscars? Please.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, Vertigo. One of the most fascinating things about Vertigo is that nobody thought it was going to be successful. So that's why Hitchcock went hard art on it. Like, he was like, let's do it all. Well, but it's notable because, like, without that anticipation, like, everyone's basically like, this is going to flop. And when it came out, it didn't do really well. It got 2 below the line nominations, I think production design and sound maybe, but it took years for people to kind of come around and be like, oh, actually, this is really good.
Yeah. I was watching, we're listening to, I guess, because it's mostly audio. I don't know if there's like a film version, but Hitchcock's conversation with Truffaut. Like, he did that multi-episode sprawling.
I meant to listen to it, and I completely forgot about it. And it's like it made in a lab for me, and I somehow missed it. You know, so I don't know.
I've listened to episodes before because when we did Rope, I listened to an episode. There was something else that we did a long time ago. I don't remember if it was Psycho or which thing it was, but I've listened to multiple episodes of it, and it's pretend like Hitchcock's clearly trying to, and I would too if I was Hitchcock, but he's trying to kind of make himself look impressive.
He wants in on the earned thing. He wants credit so hard, so bad. And it's so funny because his American press stuff is always about him as a commercial director who doesn't take it that seriously. And then he turns around and is doing everything he can to get people
post Cashier's du Cinema, like when he's like, if Truffaut likes you, like, it could be a huge thing for you.
Huge.
Right, when Foreigner Blows is like the most important art movie ever made. Yeah, exactly. Like, he had a lot of cachet. And it's interesting that Hitchcock's whole thing was sort of like leaning into sort of like a campy pompousness, for lack of a better term, right? That was his public persona. That, I mean, we're talking about a man who made a outline of his somewhat corpulent figure into like his brand. You know, this is not someone that was shy on ego, to be sure, but he wanted, for the people that he cared about, it was a big deal for him to be accepted and to be considered a peer.
And he was a big watcher. He was following all art movie trends. He was screening like Antonioni movies.
Yeah.
before anyone in Hollywood cared. I mean, he really was into it, and
he was so mad at Clouseau, who did Diabolique. He wanted that one like really bad, and he bid against Hitchcock, and Hitchcock didn't get it, which is hilarious because if you think about it now, I mean, Diabolique's amazing, but it's like wow, it's this was very heated at the time.
Truffaut, I guess, was the one that kind of like came out about this because I think it was kind of kept hush hush because you want to be, even if you're like a pulp novelist, right, like that does these kinds of, you want to be like, oh, I did this, we kind of came up with this idea. You don't want to be like, oh, I wrote this so that Hitchcock would buy it, that's like
right, yeah.
And so like but it was Truffaut that blew the whistle on it during these conversations where he's like, oh, they wrote it for you, like they wrote because they knew that you were upset and they wanted to see if you would still buy whatever the next thing is, and obviously he did. But this was it was pretty like quickly written because Diabolique was I think it was 1954. I want to say Wages of Fear was 1953.
I think it's 55. But you're pretty close. Yeah.
So, but it's like, so then this is the turnaround on this. I think they released their next the novel that became this either in 54 or 55. So like the turnaround was very, very quick.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm curious what everyone's first experience with Vertigo is, because Vertigo is one that I saw it originally before the restoration, and then like when everyone's like, "Oh, they did this big restoration on it," I was like, "Oh, okay." And it being from the Bay Area, it's like foundational Bay Area cool location cinema. So I was like, "Well, I got to see that." So I saw it. I think the Castro, they showed it. So I saw it then. And, I've seen it probably like 5 or 6 times over the years, but it was one of those things where it never was like, this is the best movie ever made. It was just like, oh yeah, this one's really good.
Yeah. There are people that like a dozen times, 30 times. Like there are like,
it's like the Wizard of Oz, technically.
Yeah. Well, sure. There's people that are very obsessed with, I think the idea, like the romantic obsession of it, like number one, and just, and going into it and trying to guess how much of Hitchcock's own sexual predilections. I like that word, but he's putting on screen because he's such an enigmatic figure, and it's kind of fascinating thing. And I don't know how much of this was known at the time and how much kind of came out later when they're doing the restoration. Alma, his wife, actually wrote the original draft with him of Vertigo. And it was called something else at the time. I think they had some stupid name for it.
Well, it was called De Entre les Morts, From Among the Dead.
Yeah, but there was a first
draft. Like a cool album name, Conan. Not gonna lie.
I know, yeah, that sounds pretty tough. Yeah,
the first draft was I was watching the restoration like documentary that they put out, and the first draft of it. I guess this guy who was like a very old man by the time this came out, they were all talking shit about this guy because he had put out a first draft and it was like this completely like inscrutable work because he was like, there's like some MacGuffin that he put in the middle of it, and it's like that he called something, I forget what it was. It was like some nonsense term, and everyone was like, "What the fuck? What is this script?" So Hitchcock and Alma had to actually like, and she had had a stroke, I believe. Like it was the first time Hitchcock ever kind of had to deal with life without his wife for a little bit, and he ends up putting his most personal kind of sexual desire on screen in a movie with his wife. And I think when you look at the figure of Midge, like that's his, Jimmy Stewart's college like ex fiance or whatever, that he's the kind of the love is past, but she's still in love with him. But
Midge was great. And it's meant to be very plain and matronly. It's like, I'm sorry, she's hot. She's just dressed down.
I get the feeling that Hitchcock, it's almost like that's
a proxy for, right. It's autobiographical nature.
It's amazing what glasses we're supposed to stand for. Just someone wearing glasses, like, wow.
She's like drawing like the hot pictures, like bras and panties. She has like the bra thing, and Jimmy Stewart has to like,
what's that?
A cantilever. They're doing amazing things now. Wow.
But the Midge character, I hope we do get more into the Midge character because I think she's really fascinating and clearly still smitten with him. I mean, to the point that you get the great, jumping way ahead, the scenes in the sanitarium, like the only person that really cares about him, frankly. And
it's so weird with it.
Yeah, but it's again, it's fascinating with how she's presented, which she's presented as like frumpy or like whatever, like a try hard or something. And it's like, well, that's clearly what Hitchcock was going for with because it is autobiographical and maybe not always in the best way to a certain degree, and understandably, like I said it like in our group chat, right? Kim Novak is like also a generationally defining beauty. So it's like, okay, you could be as attractive as you want. It's like one of the most stunning women ever to be on the screen.
And what she did to her face, and the fact that Sydney Sweeney's gonna be playing her, come on!
Please, no hate speech on this show.
I was thinking about you because I had the feeling this time after watching just after watching I guess a lot of stuff, but I got the feeling that she's almost when she's Madeleine, like when she's that character, right, rather than the character that seems like it's more like her or Judy, like the second one. When she's the Madeleine character, she's almost doing Joan Crawford. Like
she's doing that fake Hollywood speech for one thing.
Elegant, graceful.
She has this posture. She has this posture.
Like what Catherine O'Hara's lampooning in Schitt's Creek, right? Where it's like, what is this accent?
That's strange accent.
When Betty Davis says or whatever happened to Baby Jane, it's like, oh shit.
Yeah, but she has this clenched teeth thing that she does, where she's like, yes, and it just reminded me of Joan Crawford, and it reminded me of like her performances when she was in her prime, and it's almost like because she's obviously putting on airs. She's supposed to be. I mean, it's brilliant. Like she's putting on airs because she's kind of just this girl from Kansas, very Wizard of Oz again.
Well, she's playing like her idea of what a glamorous femme fatale.
She's been trained by Gavin Elster to this is what classy is supposed to be.
Right, exactly. And it works.
Boy, does it ever work. Come on.
Head over heels right for that act. Like his obsession is with the act of what a girl from Kansas thinks like a high class woman is, which makes it so much funnier. Because,
to the point that he tries to reenact it when they get when they get back together.
And it was painful for Kim Novak because she, of course, said, "Well, of course, I identified because I'd just been through the process when they were making me a star, and I had to learn to walk and talk and all that ladylike stuff was part of it."
Yeah, the only thing they barely like teach like the kids today want to get into Hollywood was like media training. That's it. I'm like, no class, no.
And then not everything. Walk, talk, sit, speak,
and a lot of it's in the script too. Like her being in a gray suit. You never put someone who's blonde in gray.
Oh, I know.
And she was like vehemently against it. Yeah, and then apparently Hitchcock's response to that was she can wear any color as she wants as long as it's gray.
Exactly. Well, this is a fascinating film for me, for the way auteur theory has been battered and largely discarded. Some people are inarguable, and Hitchcock is one. He is the quintessential auteur, and it really shows in things like him telling the costume designer Edith Head exactly what he wanted for everything. And he did that for every detail in films. And in other words, the Jimmy Stewart saying, "I want exactly this," is Hitchcock doing, "I want exactly this." But of course, he did that in virtually every film as soon as he had control. So that a level of just persnickety control over every aspect of the film and having it resonate with his own personal obsessions, no matter what the story.
Like the irony
manifested in a movie that's like one of the best movies about obsession, basically.
Yeah. But the irony of Hitchcock being like the prime example of like an inarguable figure when it comes to auteur theory is that he is such an enigmatic figure. Like you really like people parse his movies to death to try to figure out how much of what he's saying is him, how much is whatever, right? Because he always has a bunch of writers that are doing it. How much is about himself? How much is it just kind of a lot of times he's just trolling, or the hate got in the way of what he really wants to do. So like there's just like a cottage industry, I feel like, of picking apart Hitchcock movies to try to even determine how much of himself he's putting on screen. Except this movie where it's like, oh no, it's just
yeah, I don't think there's much doubt.
This plot summary is insane. But Eileen, tell us about your first experience with Vertigo. I'm curious.
I wish I could remember. I've seen it so many times, and I honestly can't remember if it was the restoration time when they brought out all 5 of the ones that had been
late 90s, like 97, I think.
Certainly the first time I saw it on the big screen. But was it available on TV? That's what I can't remember.
It was, because that's how I first saw it.
I think that I've seen it lots and lots. I think they used to run all cut to pieces. Which is
I think it was one of the Turner Classic Movies ones.
Yeah.
So in my memory, I had kind of always seen it because I think it just ran fairly incessantly on television, and that's
sure. Well, I was just going to say that that 1997 there was the Obsessed with Vertigo: New Life for Hitchcock's Masterpiece, which was the documentary about the restoration, so it would have been around that time. By the way, one of the producers for that, Eileen's best buddy and former guest of the show, Joseph McBride.
Oh.
True heads will know.
But when you see something that early, you're not even thinking, is it a master? You're not thinking anything coherently. You're just watching something that, even as a kid, when I don't get it, of course, it's just a mesmerizing experience. It's designed to be. It's designed to be.
Absolutely, from everything, including like the title credits and like the usage of color and the score, like everything about it. It's like it's and again, he went so art with it because he didn't think it was going to be successful. It was like it was not going to be Rear Window. It wasn't going to be North by Northwest. Like it wasn't.
It's also just it's fascinating that like if you look at like Suspicion or if you look at like Rebecca, right? Like the classic 1940 Hitchcock. Like
the only film he won an Oscar for, and he didn't even win it. It was Selznick.
If you look at movies like that, right? It's always the wife. It's always like a man has like an obsession and it turns to kind of curdled hatred towards a wife or like a girlfriend, or like this movie is kind of amazing because it's not there is like a side story where the guy has turned to hatred over his wife. He throws his wife off the fucking bell tower, but it's like but that's not the story we're getting like the side story of the guy that's getting set up in order to take the fall for that.
Well, and again, there was some, and I'm sure we'll get to it, but there's some back and forth about the reveal, the letter writing reveal of like, here's what you just saw, and here's how it fits together. And some people were like, well, I don't know, that kind of tips the hand, and Hitchcock's like, no, leave it in. And I think
some
that actually
people
works.
Find Vertigo, before its masterpiece status, would kind of argue for it's got these bizarre breaks. The animated sequence, for God's sake. I mean, but especially we're breaking out now into Judy's point of view that make the film kind of, it doesn't seem like Hitch, especially if you take something like Rear Window or Shadow of a Doubt as your standard. It doesn't have that taut, works like just a well-oiled machine. There's something that's loosened and made mysterious about the whole way the film is put together. That I really love and that has always drawn me in because
I think you're right. I think that leads to rewatchability.
Exactly.
Right? Like that leads to making it like for lack of a better term, a comfort movie, right? Something I can just throw on and I'm like, oh, Vertigo, hell yeah, great. That's awesome. And it is interesting that the dreaminess of it lends itself so well to it.
And the mystery of some of his choices. For example, so many people think in those great opening credits that's Kim Novak's face. It isn't. It's a model whose name I'm forgetting. But it leads to the question of why on earth isn't it Kim Novak's face?
Right. I mean, she's one of the all-time great faces.
I think one of you has already mentioned.
What was one of we never mind.
Yeah.
The business of having it be many women, having the guy in that bookshop who tells the Carlotta story saying there's many, many stories like this of women taken up by men, usually often very powerful, wealthy men, used, cast aside. You could tell it over and over again. And we're watching it going, well, we are telling it over again and over again. There's so many. And
it's crazy to me that Hitchcock wanted Vera Miles for this, but she couldn't do it because she got pregnant. And it's like, it's such a different movie. And
the only obsession he had that puzzles me.
Baby away.
She's a wonderful actress. She's super intelligent. She's just not glamorous. And she's not to me, she doesn't have any of what he usually, he goes from Ingrid Bergman to Grace Kelly. He's got impeccable taste in stars. And even though he doesn't love Kim Novak, he gets things out of Kim Novak that no one else ever gets again.
Yeah.
But then you're like, Vera Miles. Who would follow Vera Miles? I love Vera Miles, but I would not be driving after her in circles for hours and hours and hours.
She just doesn't have like a very hypnotic face like Kim Novak does.
Yeah, like you're right.
Yeah,
exactly. You look at Kim Novak.
Literally,
Scottie doesn't
want to take the case. Like even the logic, Scottie doesn't want to take the case. He's totally doesn't. He's persuaded very reluctantly to go to this restaurant. The super weirdly shot scene of him seeing her for the first time, and then he's in. He sees her one time. And there's a whole scholarly article on that tiny scene, because why? He's not facing her. He's sitting at the bar looking away from her and kind of trying to side eye without being noticed. But the shot we get, he could never have seen. So right. That really plays into, he's already got enough of a glimpse that he builds this fantasy image of her with this, incredible halo of light that comes around her head that he can't possibly be seeing with his physical eyes. And it's just like, mwah, chef's kiss. That is so beautiful.
Yeah. I also find it fascinating, like, that his name is like, Scottie is kind of a name that he like takes on throughout this, like his real name, he's like, oh, my name's John Ferguson in the beginning, and Midge is like, oh, Johnny O, John, like she calls him some variation of John, and he's like, oh, my friends call me Scottie, and it's like, where does that
come from?
Like my college friends or something, like since college, so he's almost taking on like this, because then from then on, he insists that she call him Scottie. And that's the time that we most, I think maybe the roommate, or I mean the old college friend, like Gavin Elster or whatever, like, says at some point like, oh, Scottie or something. But like for the most part, right, like it's her calling him Scottie, and so he's like kind of taking on this persona in his empathy. He's like a different guy.
Well, there's a lot of ways that certainly Hitchcock is trying to indicate there are more splits here than Judy and Madeleine.
Yeah,
right. Like when Elster and again, go back to that restaurant scene when he first sees her, when Elster and Madeleine exit the restaurant, they go by so that there's a perfect mirror image of the two of them. So there's a lot of, there are multiple selves we're dealing with here, and that includes him. He's the one who's had the big break, the big psychological break.
Yeah.
But he's playing downright Jimmy Stewart. So how bad could it be until we watch him actually, completely come apart of the scene?
We're having a break.
Yeah. You know how I got
such great casting, because who expects to see Jimmy Stewart, at least pre-war Jimmy Stewart? You never would have seen him have a breakdown.
Having a breakdown, getting obsesso. Yeah, exactly.
Which is very interesting, because I rewatched It's a Wonderful Life this Christmas, and like the post-war period for Jimmy Stewart, obviously he volunteers, he becomes like this war hero, but he comes back, and it's very hard for him to reintegrate into his life. Like,
he's got a raging case of PTSD. He comes back, just his eyes are completely changed, because and
so it's like you like listen to him talk about that period, and he's like, no, reintegration was like an actual problem for me. Like I did go through these like dark mental periods, and it's like something about Hitchcock kind of beating it out of in multiple movies, right? Like in Rear Window too, like kind of beating it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anthony Mann westerns. He does all those psychologically disturbed western anti-heroes. Yeah, he has a whole new career because he just looks like, whoa, he came back a little scary.
Yeah. It's funny how that works out. Kristina, can you give us first impressions? Like, what was your first take on Vertigo when you first saw it?
Well, I read the Birds as a play. It's freshman year, we watched it. And that made me kind of like discover more of Hitchcock. So the second movie that I remember watching after The Birds was Vertigo. And I was like, ooh.
That's heavy. That's a heavy way to start.
Wow. Yeah, that is a heavy way to start.
You gotta do The Birds one day, or
Yeah, that's a great one to start.
Get Tippy on, and she's still alive, right? I mean,
Power her up.
Crazy.
Kim Novak might be. I think Kim Novak is
still definitely still alive.
Because there's that documentary, right? There was
friends of mine did that documentary.
I want to see that really bad. Yeah,
worth seeing. It's very interesting.
Yeah,
because she shows up in the documentary from '97 about the restoration. It's like, oh yeah. I mean, she still looked great back then, which was of course many years ago. So I mean, who knows? But hopefully she's doing all right. So real quick, Jimmy Stewart, the Rope, Rear Window, Vertigo. And Man Who Knew Too Much. Or those are all the Hitchcock ones, right?
Yeah.
And interesting, kind of. I mean, Man Who Knew Too Much is probably the most like straightforward out of all of them, right? Yeah, so that's kind of interesting.
It's always been. It's almost been like it's always felt like a parody of a Hitchcock title to me.
Yeah.
Well, it's also what he remade. He made that in the 30s. And he remade it.
Peter Lorre one.
But it's interesting because Harvey was like, post It's a Wonderful Life, which is a deeply weird movie and very cool. So but all the the most nut stuff, with the exception of Anatomy of a Murder, with him saying panties, of course.
Panties.
It's usually with Hitchcock.
His bra in this,
He does, yeah.
panties.
You can hit undergarments bingo if you watch the Jimmy Stewart movie.
It's held up by a cantilever. Wow. It's kind of a hobby for him, huh?
I probably, one of the times that we covered these Jimmy Stewart movies, I mentioned like the bit we had in Replicate about the GPS with the Jimmy Stewart boys. Take a left. Now take another left. Just being like, that would be the most like distracting one. Forrest, but we got to get this plot summary. But Forrest, the first Vertigo first encounter. Vertigo.
I would say this before we started. So I mean, I when I was a kid, I would just go to yard sales and to library fairs. Like I would always get VHSs because I still had a VHS player, still do, but like, at the time, right? Like when I was either up in Maine or I was like around here, like I had a VHS player that I'd watch movies out of because it was only like, $1 or $2. People were just giving them away at that point because DVDs were around.
Yeah.
And you could always get Hitchcock, like every time I went. So I have like a giant collection of Hitchcock movies, both in the shed, up here on the shelf. Like I've seen pretty much all of them.
Disused VHS versions.
Yeah.
Also,
which is kind of perfect.
I was like 10 or 12 at the time. So like in my mind, there is something. It's taken me a long time as an adult to get back into Hitchcock because in my head they're so. It's just such a landmark, I guess, of that period in my life when I was like a kid, and like those were the first real horror movies that I was like really into. So I'm like, in some ways it's like kid stuff, but then rewatching all of them one at a time, kind of as
psychological.
I'm like, oh shit, these are like really good still.
Ooh, I watched The Exorcist before I watched a single Hitchcock movie. Ooh.
Whoa. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yikes. All right,
well, it is interesting that speaking of horror, the way there's this gothic horror movie implanted in the middle of Vertigo, which is, what's being enacted for Scottie, and that's the big mesmerizing thing that they give to him is we're going to basically make up this tale. That's ludicrous.
It's a ghost story without ghosts, basically.
Though there's images that sort of make you go, real ghost? Ooh, and a couple of sightings where, like when the woman at the hotel denies that she's ever come in, but he's seen her up there, all that shit.
Yeah.
But the misty shot when she comes out, when she's wearing the full regalia and it's green and it's like she's coming out of his own imagination or out of the limbo between life and death. And supposedly, I don't know if you read about this, probably you did, but Hitchcock spent his entire career trying to get this movie made called Mary Rose. It's based on this play that was a kind of gothic romance about someone, I believe, trying to recover a woman who's died. And that's where he saw the shot. I mean, not the shot, but there was a stage effect of the woman coming out, and it was a green light. And Vertigo is as close as he ever gets to making Mary Rose, because it's one of the few things he ever wanted to make that no one would make. No one would agree to make for him. So
that's right. And I think he wanted to do Mary Roseisms in Rebecca, and Selznick was like, "What are you doing? Don't do that."
Yeah, exactly. He's getting squelched over and over, so he finally gets a little bit of it into Vertigo. But it's that alone is so obsessive. I mean, he sees that when he's a young man. He's an avid theater goer, and he just spends years and years trying to get this thing made, and he's hanging on to it. What is that for him? And talk about color? What a crazy green! That green, you're just like, that green shouldn't even work, but it's perfect.
Yeah, although it kind of it is perfect. I hate that kind of green has been ruined, and it has to be a Hitchcock reference. It's in The Simpsons when Mr. Burns takes
and he comes out.
Yeah, and he comes out and his eyes are huge, and he has that same green behind him. And
he's on drugs and he's all green.
And he slowly walks out, and Smithers sees him do the Vertigo walk.
That's right. I forgot all about that. That's true.
Until now, it never clicked for you that that's what that was referencing.
I hadn't thought of that either. That's
yes, it is.
But and the way Hitchcock cleverly attaches it to the neon light outside of Judy's, so he can bring it back again. But it's the most lurid green. It's really remarkable, the lurid color scheme he brings into this very delicate looking film for most of the time.
They again.
Calm down. About
this documentary about the restoration, it's like a half hour. You can find it pretty easily. Can't recommend it enough, because the difference between the restored version and the original version, which I guess is what I saw like on a movie channel or something along those lines, very different and like remarkably so.
Did it for for that, like, because I watched an upload of the restoration version, and it was like blown away by it on Thursday, and then I rewatched it on like YouTube or whatever, and it was the it was just like regular version.
Yeah, it's not very often I'll invest in physical media for this show. Peace and love. It just doesn't make money. But I did for this one because I was like, oh, this is like one of my favorites. I wouldn't mind having the Blu-ray of this. And there's like a ton of awesome features on it, so it's totally worth it.
We've had 5 super chats tonight.
That's right. Yeah. That's
super chats. Oh. Let's get some more. Let's have some super chats.
Do we need to read those? Can we move on to the plot?
No, we can move on to the plot.
Okay. Good. Can you tell what I wanted to do there?
After imagine if I did it at the Jimmy Stewart.
Oh, God.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
After a rooftop chase, which a fellow policeman falls to his death, San Francisco detective John Scottie Ferguson. See, it doesn't make any sense. Like Scottie is.
Why it'd be Scottie?
My friends call me Scottie.
Maybe there was 2 Johns in their friend
Scott, remember that Gavin Elster tells
there you
him.
go.
Yeah.
So then that sounds like college stuff, just like with some weird arbitrary aspect to someone's personality, and that's your nickname for forever.
Yeah.
Oh, you're Scottie. What?
But he's like an American, so it's like, oh, you're basically you're Michael Myers. You're like Scottish enough. Retired due to acrophobia and accompanying vertigo caused by the incident. Midge, his ex-fiance, says that another severe emotional shock may be the only cure. Giving you that.
Yeah, that would do it.
Yeah,
that'll cure anybody.
Right, exactly.
Midge retains feelings for Scottie, but he is not receptive to her intimations.
Shut up.
But it's not just that; it's that she rejected him, and he's still hanging around. But like she was, because he's like, oh, you were the one that broke off the engagement, if I remember correctly. Yeah. Like he's still holding that over her head all those years later.
So I do want to talk about Midge, but there is a theory that I hadn't heard that I never thought about, frankly, that everything that happens after him, hanging in there, baby, on the gutter, anything after that is like dying man's like last vision or dream or whatever along those lines.
Oh, that was your theory. I thought the theory was that Midge was the inspiration for Midge, the pregnant Barbie doll.
Oh, maybe. I don't know about that. I can't speak to that.
I never understand what that gets you. If that's that's true, and then what? Right. What happens then?
Yeah, I mean,
he's hanging on the thing. He's hanging on like this. He's like,
hang in there.
I wish I was never born. And then you see, like,
oh my God, can you imagine if they're making a Scotcher hang in there?
Yeah.
Put him on mugs.
But yeah, I thought that theory was very silly. But
I like the idea that in his mind, like this is the last dying thoughts of like a guy hanging onto a rooftop that's like about to die.
What if I got obsessed with a blonde? Okay, great.
Like he tries to stop working but goes right back to work.
Or Gene Wilder's case, a woman in red.
He's like, what if my job was fun? If I was working in the private sector, like.
So, moving on from that, Midge is, I think, upon rewatch, is one of the more interesting characters. I think,
it fulfills like a point beat kind of in all of these in a lot of the detective stuff, where there's always just either an assistant or a secretary or
his girl Friday kind of okay.
Like there's always just, because it always has to be like, he's like the lone wolf, and then there's like a blonde woman of some kind that works for him or works with him that he like bounces ideas off of. But in this case, they have such a like there's already like an obsession kind of and a lust with her relationship to him. We're already kind of getting the psychosexual vibes from this instantaneously, because she's like, oh, I'll make sure you don't fall. Like she's this mothering attitude.
Well, she clearly cares about him.
Yeah,
and but yeah, there is this weird mommy aspect to it that's a little bit like, okay,
which instead of just hanging that on her, which certain misogynistic critics and male theory love to do, like they really like to emphasize. I've read things about how every outfit she wears is sexless and unattractive, and I'm like, she wears these rather form-fitting little sweaters that are quite figure.
I would not agree with that. Yeah,
she is not that at all. You're crazy. But there's interesting things about how she clearly is,
Dog agrees.
it's clearly
one of the male critics.
it's really echoing the Rear Window situation. It's amazing. Where she's kind of the Grace Kelly figure who keeps, only she doesn't look like Grace Kelly, but she keeps getting rejected, and she tries to become a Girl Friday for that brief scene. Let's go. I don't need a hat. To go try to be part of his life, and it doesn't work. But there's even the same shot that Grace Kelly gets in Rear Window.
Yeah.
There's a kind of high up when he says something about, you broke it off with me or something. And she gives him a look that he clearly doesn't realize that contains their whole history and a kind of bitter, watchful look on her face. Like, the reason I gave you up is because you were clearly not responding to me, really, not in love with me. And, still hoping that something can happen, that she can make him see her differently. That's, of course, the disastrous portrait.
She's not like, she's very much not a one-dimensional character. And she has this intuitive thing where she guesses the entirety of this. Like, he does not give her any information, really, besides, the Carlotta Valdez thing. She guesses the whole, plot.
He knows early. Yeah. Exactly. How nonsense. She tries to call him back to reality. That's the most moving thing for me. She can tell he's losing it. And so she does this, let's bring humor back in, which will help you come back to sanity by doing that portrait. Like, if you could just laugh at this, this is ridiculous. The Carlotta story is ridiculous. The whole thing's ridiculous. And I'll paint myself into it as a witty way of saying, look at me in this object of desire thing. And
which is a clear commentary when you're not dickmatized.
Yeah.
I'm getting dignitized by Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah.
He also drives past his house and sees her leaving, and she's like, "Oh, what have you done? Like, you're clearly falling into this."
Yeah.
She can tell just by him coming outside and being like, "Oh, where'd you go?" Like, cause he instantaneously gets involved with the person he's supposed to be tailing, which is kind of the one thing. I mean, unless she literally jumps off something, you're supposed to tail. You're not supposed to get involved with. I mean, everybody does in all these movies, but you're just
ideally you're not. Yeah, you're not supposed to. Yeah, be a participant.
I mean,
you're tailing someone.
that Barbara Geddes is there to represent. That's what a really ideal girlfriend would be like, if only you were a mature enough man to value her. But you want a kind of really almost teenage fantasy of the perfect woman circa 1958, or maybe even now, for all I know. And you go herring off after this fantasy, and nothing can bring you back once you start. Yeah.
And he slips right back into being like a college student again as soon as he sees his friend who's playing him. And you can tell he's playing him. And even the filmography shows you in that moment, he's standing tall while Jimmy Stewart is there's towering over him. And you can already, there's that power dynamic shift that's happening in that scene.
Anyway, Midge got done dirty. She could do better.
Oh, she can do better. If only she will. Yeah.
Gavin Elster, greasy Gavin of San Francisco, an acquaintance. He becomes mayor later. The acquaintance from college asked Scottie to follow his wife Madeleine, claiming that she had been behaving strangely. Scottie follows Madeleine to the grave of Carlotta Valdez, 1831 to 1857, at the Mission San Francisco Diocese, and to the Legion of Honor Art Museum, where she gazes at the portrait of Carlotta. A local historian, got to be one of the best characters. That local historian guy.
He knows where all the bodies are buried, literally.
Yeah, I love that line. I want to know. He's like, I want to know who shot who in 1857 at the Los Escudero or whatever.
Like, I got you, fam.
A local historian explains that Carlotta Valdez committed suicide. She had been the mistress of a wealthy married man and born his child, and the otherwise childless man kept the child and cast Carlotta aside. Carlotta, Gavin fears, is possessing Madeleine, was Madeleine's great grandmother. That's the moment where you have to know it's bullshit.
Straight out of Scooby Doo, right? Which of course it wasn't around yet, but yeah.
And give it 10 years,
Yeah, exactly. A little early on that train. So that's the conceit, right? Is that it's her great grandmother that's possessing her. And,
but somehow she doesn't know the story of her own great grandmother.
Yeah.
Just like it's all
on the deathbed. the mother was worried that she would do something crazy if she knew the story of her great grandmother. So she's like, I got to tell you a secret, Gavin Elster, soon to be governor of California. Gavin Elster, I got to.
We were watching it last night on stream when I was doing laundry. So.
Got it. He was what makes it even funnier of a reference. He was mayor of San Francisco first, which I was unfortunately there for. Scooby Doo, yes, was mayor of San Francisco. Yes, it was a pro Scooby snack platform.
He's like Silicon Valley.
Ultimate superpowers.
But he's like, but no. So I feel like that's when I knew it was bullshit. Kind of, and like in my head, I'm just like, yeah, that's like so. On her deathbed, the mother tells you, oh, don't tell my daughter, but this lady you don't know about. That's like
she's a descendant of a whore. What?
She's a descendant of the Mad Carlotta, and I named her Madeleine. So you could know she's the Mad Carlotta lady.
Exactly. Mad's in the name. Right.
Because in that scene, she's like the sad Carlotta. Then she becomes the Mad Carlotta. And then the next thing is like Madeleine. And then it's like, all right, Madeleine. Like
it's really it's pretty out there, but you got to think about the time period, right? I mean, this is like 1958.
People were believing in possession.
And it's also something
the Catholic Church,
It's something Hitchcock does again in other films where there's a long explanation.
Yeah.
That he was very aware of what fans demanded, and that was one of the things. But that you're not even supposed to care. It's sort of like the explanation. It's at the end of Psycho, and you're like yada yada yada, whatever. That's not where the emotional or psychological heart of the film is. So you're just like whatever gets it going, fine. Well, you feel like you have to spin his tail, fine.
Hitchcock gives you that information because we like long before the actual climax of the film, where the actual suspense is, what you're actually waiting for. Hitchcock is just like, oh, we're going to give you, which was a bold decision at this time. We're going to just give you the story of what, like the plot that was pulled on Jimmy Stewart. So that. So then the next part that happens is far creepier because you know that somebody kind of being split into two by Jimmy Stewart's own fantasies, like fantasy and reality. And it's like, when does he find out? When does he know? Like, that's where the actual suspense is, not this plot that's, just kind of convoluted.
Well, even more importantly, that even if we're wised up, we're in it too. As Hitchcock always brings the audience in. You're staring just as fascinated at Kim Novak staring at the portrait of Carlotta, even if you're not buying it. It's just so it's so hypnotic. You're just like, I don't even care if it's real.
It's a completely different deployment of the bomb on the room philosophy because the audience is in on something. If you're paying attention, that the characters are not. Right, and that's and he's deployed so well in so many different ways. Think about the narrative tension in something like Psycho versus when he's being questioned by the cops and whatnot, and Rope, where it's like, oh, there's a little body like on the screen, but people don't realize it. Things along those lines. But in this case, it's all he's being played. We don't really understand why. But it's doesn't this seem fishy? Like, where's your critical thinking skills?
And
the answer is not in his pants.
He can work on so many levels. And one level in this, though it's not as dominant as in Rear Window. In Rear Window, you can read the whole thing as a commentary on this is how cinema works. Everyone knows it. All of those rectangles that are shaped like screens that are apartment windows across the way. And we can't stop watching voyeuristically any more than Jimmy Stewart. And that's how cinema works, and yada, yada, yada. Here you got a more subtle version of it in that we're going to watch Kim Novak as Madeleine do anything because she's so much of the star that's been constructed by men, right? And then when we watch the process of Judy being reconstructed, we are longing almost as much as Jimmy Stewart. When her hair is still down and she's got everything else, you feel the frustration. Not just through him, because it's like that's not how Kim Novak wears her hair. She either has a short cut or it's always up off her neck. And
she purposely has, it's like she has a kind of clumsy way of her makeup getting done as like the brunette character too. It's like
you find yourself longing for her
to be the brunette
Madeleine / Kim Novak star that we know at some level is constructed, but at another level we're like, construct away. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, because it's great, because it's elegant. Yeah, of course.
Oh,
seeing her as a brunette after basically joining in the Jimmy Stewart stalking convention for that amount of time. Seeing her as a brunette, it feels off. Like you want her to get fixed up because it's like it just you're left feeling like something about this isn't right.
Yes.
Right.
Even though this is supposed to be the real Judy, it's like that's not right. Yeah, exactly.
Well, and it's so interesting that it was on the page. It was on the page too, because again, usually when you're like that blonde, you would not dress in gray, but the gray and the blonde was described as if an apparition.
Yeah,
coming out of the fog,
and
it works.
Wearing white after Labor Day, like, come on now, blondes don't wear gray.
Well, and Kim Novak didn't want to do it, right? And was like flat out said so to the great costuming person. I can't remember her name right now. I mean, she's fantastic. She's like, anyway, but like that's what
She's like,
I'm
not
any color she wants as long as it's gray.
Looking bland.
Well, because that's the thing. Hitchcock was so. Like he would want Edith Head is who I'm thinking of, the costume designer. She's so famous for so many different movies. So many like iconic looks over the years for just like decades and decades and decades, all over the place. He dressed everybody, men and women, I might add. But he even wanted to control how they looked at the award shows, like things like that. It was like that level of.
But there was also the issue of part of Kim Novak's star persona, and maybe based on some sort of reality, her favorite color was famously lavender. And so Hitchcock puts her in some lavender here and there, including that the loudest version of lavender you're ever going to get, which is Judy's dress that she wears back to the restaurant where he first saw Madeleine looking stunning in an emerald green and black outfit. She looks awful because that particular color of overly purple lavender looks awful against that bordello red wallpaper at the restaurant at Ernie's. So there's all these layers of, well, all right, let's give her back her stupid purple and she'll never look worse in her life. And then she's going to look in the sea.
Edith Head, movies that we've done, Sunset Boulevard is a big one that we've done, and The Birds, which we got to redo because it was only that I was on. But other movies that she's done, she did all of the Audrey Hepburn ones.
So she dressed her for Breakfast at Tiffany's then.
She did Jane Wyman in Lost Weekend too. That's a classic look. Double Indemnity.
Grace Kelly ones.
Yeah, Barbara Stanwyck.
Her last big Oscar, she got 8 Oscars. Her last one was The Sting. She dressed Robert Redford in The Sting.
That's right. She did Veronica Lake in the 2 best Veronica Lake movies, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean she's absolutely like a legend in that field.
Yeah,
for sure. And but it was funny because like she was also a woman in the middle. These arguments.
The director wants it, but at least Kim Novak did say they never follow up with the story of when she finally sees the gray suit. It is such a beautiful that she's like, oh, if I'm going to wear that,
I get it. Yeah,
I don't mind. So
kind of gray.
Yeah.
And then they're like, put on white after.
But I think it's impressive.
How shocking is it, the number of women in that gray suit that we see? Variations, slight. Yeah. What is that all about? It's clearly like anyone can buy this look. Anyone.
It's become iconic, right? Because it's something that was unorthodox at the time, but it's become iconic because of this movie. And I love that it was like straight up on the page. Like this is like the character design, if you will, is like straight up on the page. It looked like she walks straight out of the fog. It's like, oh, that nailed it.
Well, yeah, but then isn't it disturbing to find when you find out you can go buy it at a department store?
Sure. Yeah, exactly.
There's nothing tricky about that. They show the blonde, when he's with Judy in her nightmarish lavender purple outfit at Ernie's, and a woman comes in a version of the gray suit with her hair pulled up elegantly in the same blonde, and for a minute he's like, oh my God. And you're like, it's a look that anyone could buy. It's a manner anyone. If you look at the end of All About Eve, the haunting thing is a woman, when it's Eve trying to take on the role of Margot Channing, she's got to spend ages working her way into the role of being a star. By the end, there's a young woman who's just going to put on the clothes, stand in front of a multi-plane mirror, and now you get 1,000 new stars because anyone can do it. This idea of people are consuming stars. They are constructed in Hollywood. You can make this happen, blah, blah, blah. I don't know how true that is, but there's a kind of nightmare capitalist society vision that's subtly functioning in Vertigo, which is amazing to me. He's actually dangerously undercutting an idea of how beautiful, how mysterious, how perfect she is. Oh, wait. Here's another version.
But there's like a meta commentary on it later in the movie too, like where it's also like so it works. It works on multiple levels, and it works in reality as well.
Version in the meta commentary, like the fit is like until he finally does the thing where he pulls her hair up, or like the fit is awkward the entire time. It's like,
oh yeah, and you're supposed to find it maddening, like he does. Yeah.
But it's so effective because it is annoying because you're like, oh no, you're so close to getting to this.
Yeah,
Exactly.
You're so close. Well, because when you first see her, it's like obviously she's still hot, but it's like,
yeah.
what is this? What do you got going on here? Did you not
Potentially
expect to see
hotter
anyone
because
today?
again, you know,
Like-
she hated to wear underwear. It's well known about Kim Novak, and in that scene, he lets her go no underwear, which is
All right.
you know, pretty shocking for 1950.
Yeah. I mean, 50s, man, 58.
underwear reminds him too much of Midge. So he's like,
Maybe it's just too much underwear altogether.
I think it's and this kind of gets into what you wanted to talk about, which we can keep going over this, but it's such a liminal. San Francisco is such a liminal place at this time.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's and they comment on it obsessively throughout this. It's like the Gavin Elster guy is like, oh, I miss the old and another line, they're like the old gay San Francisco, which is about to become again. But
I mean, I'm like, I'm you the 60s. You got live a little bit. Stay with us a little bit longer. The 60s and 70s. It'll be.
I got about 5 more years, son.
Yeah.
like
It's just gayer. How do you
old
live this full
Bohemian
potential
days.
of gay?
gay San Francisco, like
Unless they meant happy.
they're hinting around.
Right.
They're hinting around this thing the entire time, which is that it's been transformed from the old style, kind of more mysterious, kind of ethereal place, which I think California in general kind of holds that place still for us as like this. I mean, Conan being from there, maybe it's like that, but there's like a pull west.
No, it tracks. It tracks. I mean, not all of it. Believe me, California's huge, but like the Bay Area for sure.
Yeah,
and
all that mist and fog and the eerie beauty that it once had before it was destroyed.
Before it was taken over by the Borg.
It's
pulling you west, and like that's been the story of American settlement, right? Like it pulls you towards that direction, and there's something ethereal about it, and there's something that many people try to capture and just can't kind of capture. And
well, absolutely, and that's why this is like on any list of, first of all, great location movies, but certainly great location in Bay Area and San Francisco specifically movies. You start with Vertigo, because it really does capture that. Hitchcock loved San Francisco because it reminded him of Paris at the time, in the way that no other American city did. Yeah, and I think that comes across, and it comes across so interestingly as a time capsule of 1958. Again, pre-60s. This is pre-Hate Street. This is pre hippie revolution. Yeah,
it's the beat poet.
Exactly. It's more that, and we rarely see that depicted in such a way where the locations themselves are such a big part of the movie, which is funny because Hitchcock famously loves sets more than anything. He loved completely controlling the environment, do it in the studio, build everything so you can control every part of it. But just one of the great exterior location movies. Period.
And he seemed to feel, a great love for Northern California in general. He keeps going back there to do locations. Shadow of a Doubt is,
Birds.
The Birds.
Yeah. He ended up moving. I can't remember if it was. I think it was San Francisco. He ended up moving to California and just kind of living there. Like he lived out his days at least for like a long.
Well, in California, fetishization in movies is not new, but it's usually LA. It's usually Southern California,
right?
And that's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons why when they did this restoration, it premiered at the Castro. Because it was like, oh yeah, well, also it's a quintessential SF movie.
There was a time in California. 1967 that existed, yeah,
right, exactly. Yeah,
it's often they're from the middle of the country over to California, which a lot of directors, right? Like a lot of times people, at least at this time, like in early Hollywood, a lot of times people are from like they are from Kansas, or they're from Illinois, or they're from like Indiana. Like a lot of people that end up in Hollywood, there's kind of like this trail between the the Midwest, which is where like because that's classic Americana, that part of the country, even though it's boring as shit. But it's like they would all end up in that's the star making factory pretty much. It's like we can take a kid from the plainest part of the Midwest and right into California. It's rarer that you get somebody from Europe kind of coming in and showing their depiction to this level, at least like San Francisco in this movie as a character onto itself.
Yeah. Because for those that don't know, for some reason, Alfred Hitchcock being English foundationally from Essex, right? But like I feel like he's. Go ahead.
I was just going to quickly say, so many English people, because of their weather, adore Southern California. Absolutely love it.
Because it's nothing like where they came from.
Yeah, and Hitchcock does
enough.
he ever do anything in Southern California, Hitchcock?
I don't think so. I think it's
I don't
all
think the atmosphere
NorCal.
is there. I don't think he thinks it's atmospheric.
If I remember correctly, he moved San Francisco. Like he moves outside of San Francisco, and he just plops he pops himself down, and he doesn't leave. Like,
I think so. I think that's right. Yeah,
that's
he was in self-imposed exile, essentially. Like, and then kind of in a second exile because they kind of moved him to TV. Like to kind of purposely disrespect him at that point. It's like we're showing.
But then he ended up like,
no. He's the bold. He's the guy who's not afraid of TV.
I was gonna say he was not lowering himself doing.
He's doing TV in the mid-50s when he's doing some of his greatest movie hits.
He's elevating the art. Do you remember Psycho? In Psycho, he was used his TV crew in Psycho.
But
that's how much that unlocked.
They at first at least try to belittle that because like the term, like I was watching Siskel and Ebert and they were talking about how the term master of, and they obviously both loved this movie, but they're talking about how there's a belittlement to the term master of suspense rather than the term something like like master of filmmaking, master of cinema, something like that. They were talking about at least Siskel, I don't know how much Siskel's like sometimes I just feel like he says stuff, but it's like. Yeah.
Hitchcock.
Well, he was the exception that proves the rule, though.
Yeah.
Hitch is one of the greatest PR people ever for him. Yeah. That's what I was saying. When he's in America and cares the most about being a popular filmmaker, that's all he's selling. But then this other part of him desperately wants to be part of the Euro art crowd especially when it's on the rise in such a big way, and he wants that too. That's quite a thing to get going because he's the one who spends all this time ginning up the master of suspense thing more than anybody.
Maybe for his own
mythologizing. It's
mythologizing. Essays he wrote and interviews he gave, and he was just brilliant at PR.
Well, and again, to the point that the one of the things people would focus on with him that again he didn't exactly have like the best physique. He made into a strength and his trademark. Gotta reiterate that because he would have killed it in social media, frankly.
Oh yeah, he would have had because he had like when you think of what a director looks like or like someone who really utilizes like look, it's like Alfred Hitchcock. You think of Alfred Hitchcock presents like I mean with like Martin Scorsese and Steven Spielberg, he's got the hat and all that, but Alfred Hitchcock gave himself a look where it's like suit and tie,
the Undertaker suit that he always wore.
Yeah, so it's like perfect.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Maybe I think I fell for his own self-mythologizing because that part of the story only works when he's had that like massive like when he's doing the best films he's ever done after doing TV. Like though they tried to exile me to TV and I'm back. Like that's the only time that line worked.
Well,
did he really try that? That's amazing. That's hilarious.
If so, good on him. Because other than Orson Welles, ironically, I can't think of anyone else that's like been better
it was
at
Walt
just
Disney.
Like writing his.
Hitchcock was a huge admirer of Walt Disney because Walt Disney was so unafraid and so into experimentation, and he went right for television. So Hitchcock's like,
well, today's Disney understood that.
Yeah, well, that's a different conversation.
Right. But however, Madeleine does not know this or remember the places she has visited while ostensibly possessed. Big SAT word there.
I use ostensibly all the time. What are you talking about?
I say it all the time too. Scottie trails her to Fort Point and rescues her after she jumps into San Francisco Bay.
Okay, we got to pause on that because that's one of the most iconic location shoots like in any movie ever. Fort Point, which is a place you can go to still, and it looks pretty much exactly the same. It's like when people think of Vertigo, that's one of the things they think of, right? It's just like the thought of like it's the Presidio standing there at the end of the Presidio. You see the Golden Gate Bridge going, right? We all know the scene, and it's also one of those things like, oh yeah, he's creeping. He's basically creeping at this point. He's following her.
Because we follow TLC reference.
We follow him. He's in his car, and we're with him in the car. Essentially, we're watching him. He's sitting in the car. He's watching her just put flowers into the water, You know, like he loves me not style. And we're just watching him, and then he slowly gets out of the car. It starts creeping. He almost has like the like at some points there, he almost has like the Night of the Hunter kind of feeling to his like he's
very stalkery for sure.
And it presents as such, and it presents in such in a way that we're asked to empathize with him, but also sort of like maybe question, like, well, this is kind of
what are you bringing
us across the line here?
Yeah. Well, part of it is that Hitchcock makes us complicit in it. Like we're along with whatever Jimmy Stewart decides to do. We're along for the ride. Like there's no turning back. Like every day, whatever he's doing, he's watching her going here. He's following her. He's doing all this stuff. We're kind of stuck doing the same thing Jimmy Stewart's doing. I want to turn the movie off.
Was it a podcast? I don't think he did that.
The next day, Madeleine stops to deliver a letter of gratitude to Scottie, and they spend the day together. Skips right over the fact that he brings her to his house, to his apartment,
undresses her completely.
Yeah, and then she wakes up.
He plays little boys to men. I'll make love to you.
And he has that nice green cardigan on. But no, he has this like I mean, it's a very creepy. But there's no sign that he's ever like, huh, maybe this is bullshit. Like maybe the fact that she does not seem to really react when she wakes up and realizes she's like naked in his bed and he's kind of walking in staring at her like. Maybe I'm being set up for something here. Like that doesn't even cross his mind.
No, he's too far gone.
He's under the spell.
At that point. And so
he's more under the spell than Bell Buck and Candle. Same year, by the way. Same year.
I know.
Yeah.
Anyone who's ever been in love,
these two, they're doing all these films together.
Resonate. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, so and he's even taken the hair clips out of her hair. Like that's the level of it's like running fingers through.
If a male character was doing that movie today, he would be considered gay.
I mean, maybe. I think you just would consider like a rapist, but
anyway, moving on.
But it's like but throughout that whole scene, she's like, "Well, if I was taken home, I wouldn't have met you." And it's like, it is like pure fantasy. It's pure like. It's what you would want, like for that person to say at that moment. When you're that far gone, it's like
it's buying into a story. It's a frame device, right? Like it's exactly. It's not meant to hold up to like strict scrutiny, like we're giving it right here. But
before we go on, can we just talk a bit about the driving scenes? There are
I
so
can't
many
wait to get to it. Yeah,
and such lengthy driving scenes that I can't believe studio executives weren't watching the rushes going, what the fuck?
Yeah, cut out this driving. They're just driving. Nothing's happening.
This many. And, as Forrest already mentioned, not only are there all the left turns, which of course make you quickly realize, he's going in a circle. It's the Vertigo shape again. We have to get into the whole design of the film that way. But just what is that doing there? And all you can think of it, again, you're just supposed to be, you're getting more and more hypnotized along with him. The rhythms of the driving are so slow and strange.
And some of the I noticed, at least watching the Blu-ray version, or the restored version, some of the driving scenes, not all of them, some of them are so clearly on a studio set.
Absolutely.
That rear
so they have like a
projection,
surreal.
And you can see the thing behind it, and it doesn't match up to but it builds the feeling that you're in a dream, or like the feeling that you're in this weird fantasy where he's in the car and his motions don't even match what you're seeing behind him.
Right.
Well, and also, so there's a lot of people that were trying to this, saying, they're driving on the wrong side of the road. But when they're driving to the old mission, which is of course later on,
so many one way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's what so they show on the right side of the road, but it's actually split. It's a split highway. So it's
they're filming in the UK.
But it's not. But again, there's two lanes that go one direction and a different two lanes that go the other direction. Right. But if you don't know that, it just adds to that sort of dreamlike effect of like,
strange quality.
Like what is happening here? Like doesn't seem it. You're forced to be like, is this a dream? Is this reality? So on in a very subtle way.
Mm-hmm. So I think that just helps but then by the time you get to that very strange scene when he's addressed her and she wakes up, you've already gone through this process of hypnosis that the driving was part of, and it's just like, no, we're all in now.
It's also there are times where you're left with them in the car for such an uncomfortable amount of time. that it's like it leads you through this thing. Like there's multiple scenes where you don't know what the fuck Jimmy Stewart's gonna do to her, and you're stuck with them in the car, and you're watching them both react to it, and it keeps flipping between seeing above them driving where it's like the real driving scenes, and then the driving scenes where it's clearly he's like on a studio set, and it's like all of that together is kind of spliced, so you're left with these deeply uncomfortable long periods of time. All right. So we have a bit of a movie like the next day, Madeleine stops to deliver a letter of gratitude to Scottie, the wandering Scottie, and they spend the day together. They travel to Muir Woods and Cypress Point on 17 Mile Drive, where
beautiful drive in reality, by the way, and so definitely deployed in this movie. It has not been done better. Like and that is a really gorgeous area.
People love doing the fucking redwoods. They love being like, look, redwoods.
It's pretty incredible.
They're old.
Save the redwoods.
Like me, I'm old, just like these redwoods.
Well, and right, exactly, and you get other aspects of it too, where the rings that like, okay, this was this point of history, this is another point of history, and then she's like, oh well, I was born here and I died there. As like
remembering halfway through that she's supposed to be Carlotta, she's like, oh, I was born.
Oh, what do you mean? What are you right here?
Oh, that's crazy. What do you mean?
That's crazy talk.
I thought you were 25. What do you mean you're 130?
But it's a good use of the rings as the identifiers for like epochs of time and ages of time,
and also more kind of male carelessness and brutality. They go, oh yeah, we can go back to before the Crusades, and then somebody just chopped it down in 1930.
Yes, chopped it down. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay.
Stewart gives the famous line, "I've crossed oceans of time to find you."
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So
gorgeous stuff in the Muir Woods and Cypress Point. 17 Mile Drive's amazing. If you ever have a chance to do it, you should do it.
Next day, Madeleine recounts a nightmare, and Scottie identifies it as the setting of Mission San Juan Bautista, Carlotta's childhood home. And she's so clearly like memorized everything in there, and he's just so hypnotized by that point that
he just wants to see her talk at this point.
Yeah,
right?
she's like, oh, and then there's a thing there and a thing there, and then that's where the horse is. Like, I've been there.
Oh, it doesn't. The horses are. I went on a field trip in 5th grade to Mission San Juan Bautista, and it was great. Really? But it was way before I saw Vertigo and knew who Hitchcock was.
Well, so they ripped down the bell tower. Like they had to rebuild the bell tower. That part of it.
The bell tower has long been gone.
Yeah. Carlotta's childhood home. He drives her there, and they express their love for each other. Madeleine. That scene is like the lines in the scene are great because it's like. She's like, because I remember as a kid, I remember watching this movie. This is the part that I remember watching when I was like 10 or 11 or 12. And I remember they're sitting there and she's like, even if this ends and you never see me again, just know I wanted to stay with you. I wanted to love you. And I was like, don't let the bitch go into the fucking chair. Right. Put her back in the car. And she's like, what do you mean you want to go back to the church? And she's like, I got to go alone. And it's like, don't let her do that.
Right.
I don't know. I just remember being a little.
That really has the quality of a nightmare.
Yeah.
It's like you can't move. He can't move to effectively block her. You're right. That the thing to do is hold on to her and be like, nope, we're leaving. And
later in the movie, he's fine grabbing her and all like. But he drives her there and they express their love for each other. Madeleine suddenly runs into the church and up the bell tower, asking Scottie not to follow her. I promise I'm not going to jump from the bell tower. Whoa, you promised me she's not going to jump from the bell tower. I believe her. And then Scottie runs after her, but is halted on the steps by his fear of heights. You never thought you'd see that again, and sees her plunged to her death.
Okay, so we got to talk about the dolly shot, because first of all, they built it as a model. So they couldn't do it in reality. This is the first of this type of shot that we're not very used to seeing. And this was very much done in such a way to show the concept of Vertigo, like what that would feel like to someone who was having it. Ripped off so many times, 100,000 times in so many movies, usually to lesser effect.
And a lot of people remember the version in Psycho more than this one. Strangely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. For good reason.
The much imitated Vertigo effect was achieved by a combination of zooming forward and tracking backward simultaneously. After much trial and error, filming on a full-size set proved impossible, so they used a large-scale model of a staircase. Turned on its side, it was filmed by special effects cameraman John Fulton to make the audience feel as dizzy as Jimmy Stewart.
It really works on the big screen.
Bernard
too.
Herrmann
Right, Bernard Herrmann's great, but let's move on. We got 10 minutes left to do the plot, so let's get going. We're doing too many pauses. Bernard Herrmann, great. We're not talking about him right now. An inquest into Madeleine's death declares it a suicide, although the coroner rebukes Scottie for not doing more to save her.
One of the funniest Hitchcock scenes of all time. That's a scene like I wish I could see with like an audience, because I feel like that would crack me up.
It was like Max Cady in the movie theater in Cape Fear 1991.
The judge is just like the judge the whole time is like, well, your own weakness is a man.
If it hadn't been for your weakness.
Yeah, he just rips him apart. By the way, Cape Fear 1991 opening credits homage to Saul Bass's own work in the opening credits of Vertigo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's why I mentioned Cape Fear.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. You did that intentionally.
I love the line where he says, well, the law doesn't say much about things left undone.
Yeah. No, I mean this guy's it's a great soliloquy. He's basically like, well, sucks that this happened. This guy kind of sucks too, but I guess we can't really press charges. It's like, Jesus Christ, man. This is
really hard.
The whole time you can see
right in front of him.
He's like,
yeah.
Oh man. Oh fuck.
Gavin also does not fault Scottie, but Scottie becomes clinically depressed and is sent to a sanitarium in an almost catatonic state.
Like this.
Following his release, he frequents the places that Madeleine visited, often imagining that he sees her. By the way, I guess we're just going to not mention Midge here. Okay, but yeah.
Yeah, well, Midge Erasure.
Yeah, Midge Erasure yet again.
Yeah.
Must be written by a man.
I love
balding man, no less. What does he know?
Wait, I didn't do anything. No.
Yeah, I mean,
I love when he says Mozart, Wolfgang Amadeus.
Yeah. And then the different musics supposedly for different ailments or whatnot, and
which is what you do for little kids when you want your little kid's brain to work good. You know, there's play Mozart, play classical music. It's like it improves the brain, and I feel like this is like the adult version of that. And they're like, oh, don't worry, he'll get smart again if you play Mozart.
Well, it's also a heartbreaking ending because we're never going to see Midge again. And Midge says, it's all right, Mother's here. So she's accepted this role that he accused her of earlier on that didn't seem really fair to me. But now she's accepted it and says, Mother's here, but then Mother isn't here. We never see her again. She's gone.
Mother's here. She was never seen again.
She was never seen in this man's life again.
So following his release, he frequents the places Madeleine visited, because that'll help. Often imagining that he sees her. Great. Let's not blast past that. That's some great obsessive filmmaking. Right.
As a kid, I was so blown away by it because I kept being like, "Oh, there she! Oh, what do you mean? That's not her!"
Yeah. It's very effective. Very effective. One day, he notices a woman on the street who, although superficially very different, reminds him of Madeleine. He follows her into her apartment, super stalkery, where she identifies herself as Judy Barton from Salina, Kansas.
And she keeps trying to get him to leave the apartment, and he's like, "Oh, I just want to ask you a few questions." He doesn't even do that. Exactly. Another thing where he's like, "I'm a police officer," and I was
no. He's just the horned up dude.
Yeah. And she's like, "What? I remind you of somebody?" Which, like, again, like it's like because I mean, like obviously we're being it's being laid thick on us as much as anything else. I mean, they're about to do the big reveal, but it's like she's like, "What? I remind you of someone you used to know that you were in love with," and he's like, "Yes, actually. How did you?"
Now you're just somebody that I used to know. The fact that people thought that song was great back in the day is funny as hell.
We gotta.
A flashback reveals that Judy was the person Scottie knew as Madeleine Elster. She had been impersonating Gavin's wife in an elaborate murder scheme.
Talk about a twist.
Gavin took advantage of Scottie's fear of heights to substitute his wife's freshly killed body in the apparent suicide jump, air quotes.
Which we never even get like well, I mean, it would ruin the thing, but like even during this, it's like,
we're going to cut some of the driving scenes? How dare you?
But it's like, no, but even this, we never really get like a good look at, like how much did the wife even look like?
No.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Again, it's another of these interchangeable women things.
Yeah. Judy writes a note to Scottie confessing her involvement in the plot, but tears it up and decides to continue the charade because she loves him. Good usage of a charade, by the way. Great movie. That very much homages this as well as other
you're telling me this was all a charade?
Yeah, exactly. Again, controversial. Some people thought it should be taken out. I think it actually makes the movie better, personally. And it's a rare time where explaining something actually makes the movie better.
Oh, it's an absolute necessity. And the shift to her point of view, it just has to happen. Otherwise, her agony and the tragic irony can't work by the end.
Yeah, but if they took it out, like, you would just be like, okay, what the fuck? What do you mean? What plot was I just watching?
Yeah. Well, because then it makes you re-examine what what you've seen before and what you were thinking of when you saw it, right?
Well, the bold part of it, right, is putting it there and not putting it in the bell tower when she could be like, all right, we did this to you, blah blah blah. Like, putting it, like, telling us as an audience, it's pretty, like, it's bold to tell us way before the climax actually happens.
Well,
so we sit there squirming for the next 30 minutes. And
it's emotionally important because we've been pretty locked with Scottie for a lot of this, other than those Midge moments where we sympathize with, we get an insight into Midge. But now it's going to be Judy's agon. And, Hitchcock is considered this big misogynist, but he did so many important portraits of suffering women who are suffering at the hands of men. Notorious is one, Marnie is one. He returns to this again and again. So this is where the movie really shifts to at least a dual portrait. And a lot of the time, we now see how cruel Scottie is in a way that we didn't really. We've sort of seen him as being the dupe of this, and now it's like, no, he's the cruel perpetrator as well.
And he doesn't even know what the fuck happened to him. Like, he's slowly figuring it out, I think. But, like,
right, it takes him ages. Like, it takes him way longer. Yes.
This could just be Judy Barton, and he's, like, torturing her.
Well, exactly, because that's one of the things. It's like we're with him, but it doesn't mean he's right. He's wrong about things all the time.
Well, but this makes us partly with her.
It's a different day, people. Get over it. I'm sorry. Sorry.
Oh, Kristina? I hate Mondays, and I love lasagna.
Jimmy Stewart's Garfield, exactly.
Yeah. So the two begin seeing each other, but Sky remains obsessed with Madeleine and asks Judy to change her clothes and dye her hair to resemble her.
Yeah, I love you. You're perfect. Now change.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, you look just like the girl that I used to know, but not enough.
Definitely a trope that hasn't been overplayed in movies. After she complies, he notices her wearing the necklace portrayed in Carlotta's painting. Realizing the truth, he drives Judy back to the mission.
Okay, wow. So there's like a lot of movie that happens between those two sentences.
They go to Ernie.
But
then go to Ernie's again. She loved Ernie.
Well, there's a whole process of her trying to get him to love her as her. So once again, we've got this reality check woman, a woman who's being presented as much as there's themes that are self-reflexive about movie making. Basically the plot is Judy's a real woman who wants to be loved as a real woman. It's Midge's problem all over again, and you can't ever get Scottie to have any appreciation for a real woman.
Yeah, he's too into AI women.
Yeah, you know what we did? Kind of like how the new Scream movie dabbled with AI. They can remake Vertigo with AI.
I'm just too into chatbots, Mitch. I just can't do it.
That'd be the modern remake. Lord help us. Jesus Christ.
This woman gives me everything I want, Mitch. She's on my computer.
All right. So back to the mission, everybody. Back to the mission.
So there he tells her that he must reenact the event that led to his madness, and that he now knows that Madeleine and Judy are the same person, with Judy having been Gavin's mistress before being cast aside, just as Carlotta had been. History repeats itself, y'all.
Yeah, and there's a lot of this unspools fairly quickly, considering how much of a dupe he's been almost the entire movie, and that's a common complaint levied against the movie, that it all happens very suddenly at the end, but I think it makes sense. Again, and I think it makes it. Right, well, yeah. So I was going with that is that, like, Midge's homage / only way to get through to him how obsessed he got of painting the painting with the necklace. That is like the key to like why him recognizing the necklace on her like works. I think because unless you get that, and why it would be upsetting to him, right? Like, and that's a small piece of ephemera, but again, great production design, great costuming.
He's turned real real hard. He's pulling her up the stairs, and he's like, That's your problem. You kept a souvenir from a killing. You never keep a souvenir from a killing.
Right.
Not sentimental. And then it's like, dude, it took you until now to figure out there was even like a murder plot. Shut the fuck up.
Exactly. We're not exactly being top cop right now.
He forces her up. Yeah. He forces her up the bell tower and makes her admit her deceit. Judy confesses that Gavin paid her to impersonate a possessed Madeleine and begs Scottie to forgive her. He embraces Judy at the top of the tower, but a shadowy figure, a nun, investigating noise, rises from the tower staircase, startling her.
Yep.
Dun, dun, dun. Judy lunges backward off the tower to her death. Scottie, worried once again, but cured of his fear of heights, stands on the ledge in shock while the nun rings the mission bell. Yeah, that'll definitely cure your fear of heights.
Yeah,
I mean, it is a shock.
They call it therapy. Like if you expose yourself to something you have a phobia of slowly over time, which is what he's doing in the beginning, like you can kind of slowly get over it once you've had a trauma. But this is like exposure therapy taken to like the maximum where
extreme,
it's
one.
No, we're gonna throw you from a plane. That's the only way that you can.
Right.
Fear of heights. Bungee jump.
What do you think about the ending, Eileen?
I've just read quite serious takes on this where there's one critic, I wish I could remember who it was, who said, no, but in the end, his masculinity is affirmed because he gets over his fear of heights and he solves the crime. Dude, he's shattered forever. He'll never get past. He's destroyed. So getting over your fear of heights in this situation cannot help him at all. Oh my God.
There is a moment of not the end of the movie, but like in that moment where he makes it to the top of the bell tower, it is like I
made it.
Played as like a masculinity affirming moment, but it's like he loses it instantaneously once you.
Well, the whole movie is it's about taking it apart.
Yeah,
just blasting it to smithereens.
Yeah, coming in the 11th hour trying to Columbo it isn't going to really pull it off, man. I mean, it's come on. It's
supposed to be the most
you did extreme makeover on a stranger because you were so obsessed.
Vertigo edition.
Seeming stranger, I should say. A seeming stranger. Not that it wasn't warranted. I mean, it was one of those things where it's like, were you trying to just look as different as possible? Like, okay. But yeah, great use of the bell tower, Chekhov's bell tower, right? It's there's a rhyme to it for sure.
Ding 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 with the bell.
I think if Hitchcock had shown like the body or had any interest in showing that piece of it, maybe that would be the more expected result, right? I don't know, but for me, it's like one of the more iconic endings to a movie.
Oh, God.
Because it's not about how close the women look to each other or whatever.
It's about a MacGuffin. All of that stuff.
Yeah.
What matters. Oh my God. Yeah.
None of that matters. It's all about this nature of obsession and this dude's journey up, down, and all around to the detriment of everything as he gets caught in this web that he basically still doesn't really understand. I mean, he kind of gets it a little bit. And then they had this, thankfully it wasn't ever part of the actual movie, but they had this, happy ending because there was a thing in certain parts of Europe that you couldn't show a villain and get away with it at the end. So they have this which is like, what? Who made that rule? Concerned moms of Poland? Like, what is this?
Yeah, it's one of those production code, idiocies, unfortunately.
Yeah. So it exists and it's available as a special feature. It's just these you see Midge hanging out. They're hanging out together wordlessly, having a drink, and you hear this radio. Oh, they're closing in on him. They're gonna arrest him now. What are we doing? What is this? Are you kidding me? That's not the point of the movie. So stupid.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anyway, not a movie. That's a stupid deleted scene that's not in the movie that I'm bitching about, by the way. Thank God.
Thank God.
Says
this is not a movie for literal-minded people.
No.
A moviegoer who gets hung up on whether it's all plausible and hangs together logically, this ain't the movie for you because it's not about that.
People really want something that's so simple and doesn't challenge them or makes them think, and it drives me nuts.
Well, and it's one of the reasons why this was considered a commercial at the time. too, which again, history has not only validated it, it's it validated it tenfold. That even the Academy, they were like, yeah, we'll give you some below the line nominations, but come on, what are we doing here?
You are the first line of this award season.
It's like trying to, I mean, Lynch is obviously pretty inspired by this movie. It's like trying to decipher like literally a David Lynch movie or something like Picnic at Hanging Rock. It's like
you're never
going to be able to fully explain it, and it's like, all right, like
when I say it as definitively and canonically known as a plot guy, right? But like when it works, it really works. And in this case, it absolutely does work. And part of it's the visuals, parts of the incredible score, the Bernard Herrmann score that's happening here. Part of it is, the incredible costume design, as we've gone into at length, actually, which I'm very pleased we were able to do. The shot composition, the uses of colors, my word, the change up between like the restoration and before. It's okay, it was a different movie practically. Because the color here matters so much. Kristina, you were mentioning, thank God there's no piss yellow like there is.
Yes.
so many modern movies where it's like, oh, don't you have anything else in your palette? Just the one, huh? Just yellow. All right, great.
Hey, if there's one thing one of my favorite like makeup TikTokers is like, color theory's fun. Experimenting with color's fun. Can we please just do that again? I get it, CGI, but not everything has a CGI, and there's no reason for a low budget, drama to still be so bland. I mean, that's why I hope people come for the new Hunger Games movie, because that shit looks colorful.
Well, Barbie, right? Yeah. One of the reasons Barbie was such a shock to the system is, first of all, it shouldn't have worked. but secondly, like it really leaned into, the Jacques Tati of it all, like just the bright, the bright colors, like the color palette of just being like extremely like vibrant. And we just aren't used to seeing that anymore. Everything is just washed out. Well, if it needs to be serious, it has to be like shades of gray and really dark. You can barely see what's going on.
Even Twilight, they were like, it's Pacific Northwest. Let's make everything look blue. Dabba dee dabba da,
Anyway. Letterboxd, of course, is a social media site for film lovers to talk at with and to each other about the films that they love, maybe the films they didn't love, maybe the films that they pedantically picked apart the ending to the detriment of all, including the reader, myself. Where it's a bottom-up democracy. Everyone gets to have their say, not just Siskel's and Eberts of the world. Everyone gets to chime in, opine about the movies that is best expressed for the purposes of this bit succinctly, where they are gathered by yours truly for Forrest and the rest of the panel to relate to, react to, all in real time. That's what this is. These are the Letterboxd one-liners for Vertigo. Let's go. Valid crash outs all around.
Yeah, I feel like that's like the secret, like valid crash out would be like, they would ship it as that name and not Vertigo.
Oh, I'm crashing out. Oh, I need some kind of energy drink to pick me up. I don't know what's going on.
Like if they remade Vertigo to see valid crash outs all around be the name of the movie. Yeah. This is what happens when a man fails to develop hobbies after he retires. The Giants just moved to San Francisco, brother. Buy season tickets or something.
What a long one-liner. That's the best way to summarize that film, though.
He loves that the one guy that designed the cantilever bra has a hobby.
Cantilever. Yeah, okay.
You can help that guy. You can contact him.
Get in touch. Make a love connection. Ah, shit. Here we Vertigo again.
Jimmy Stewart gets Vertigo at the thought of the cantilever bridge. Bra.
Shots were fired at the White House today, and I gotta say, again, seriously,
Vertigo again.
At this point, no one cares.
Yeah, truly.
You gotta Vertigo to the polls,
Exactly, in terms. The dolly zoom is such a cool shot. Like, fuck, man, maybe I have Vertigo too.
Yeah, maybe this is when the edible kicks, you take the edible, you think you're having a good time, and then whoa.
This is like when you're watching a movie about anxiety and it's clearly designed to get, like, Bo is afraid to give you anxiety. And you're like,
oh, sure.
Well, guess I also have anxiety. Fuck. Like
movies that make you realize, oh shit, you do have it.
That'd be a good letterbox list for sure. Nowadays, you never find this kind of parking in SF.
That's true. It's such a mouth-watering view of San Francisco. It's long gone.
Not one Waymo the whole movie.
Can I tell you? I'm gonna spoil this. This is the one I laughed at the hardest.
This movie might have turned out very different if they had a Waymo that was, just driving. Jimmy Stewart being the one driving them. Oh, I don't know where the car's going.
If there were like half as many driving scenes, this movie would be an hour shorter. True, but it'd be
hours. Know how they got.
No wonder the Wikipedia had to be so short, because the IMDb just had a lot of driving plots to fill in.
It works though. It's an important part of the movie.
Driving.
Fumbled the baddest bitch ever just because she was an accomplice to murder. Sad face.
Yeah, I would have. We live and let live. We're starting over again.
Your Honor, she was hot.
Yeah, exactly. And who would argue, man?
Your Honor, have you seen her? Have you looked at her?
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I beseech you, please look at her face.
Entitled men are scarier than ghosts.
True.
Pretty good.
Now put your hair up like that. Like, boy, I like it.
Alfred Hitchcock managed to make a scene where the main character takes 3 steps on a 3-foot stepladder that's scarier than 90% of all horror movies.
And it's funny. It's like, it's the rule of 3. It's just like 1, 2,
3.
And then he's too cocky about it. He's like, whoa, wow. I'm really doing.
Exactly. It's a great scene though. It gets the point across, right? Rule 3 or not. If I was Judy, I would simply not fall in love with Scottie because Jesus Christ, he was the worst.
Scottie did.
It's like Scottie is the worst, and then slightly higher. His rear window guy, like when he's in Rear Window, is Jeff.
Yeah. Exactly. Those are the Letterboxd one-liners for Vertigo. Please follow our Letterboxd HQ account at Movie Night Extra, where we have all the Vertigo, indeed, where we have all the great episodes that we do on movies. All there. There's 10 short form content, all sorts of great related extras. Follow the show at there, Movie Night Extra. Missions on Flacco at Always Flacco. That is your host, Forrest Miller.
She's buried over there at the Mission del Flacco. Oh, that one other point I wanted to make. When the wife
while
died,
I'm back announcing the bit, really? Okay, go ahead.
No, I'm not gonna remember it otherwise. I kept trying to. When the wife dies, right, and it's the gravestone. The gravestone says "wife of Gavin Elster."
Yeah. There you go. Conan Neutron at Conan Neutron. Vertigo, get a restraining order. I had that on before any of the other discourse, by the way. I had that on for the beginning. Let the record show. ... You can follow me on Letterboxd from the highbrow, the midbrow, the populous fair. I am back on the Criterion Challenge and doing all that. So follow me along for that or anything else associated with the show or not. Vertigo or Dizziness. I'm Kristina on Letterboxd.
Because there's a distinction between the two.
There is. There's entire Wikipedia articles about this that are deep linked in the synopsis. I'm like, I ain't clicking that. I know the difference. I don't need to read it. But people are real mad about it.
Or dizziness just by reading them. You don't know.
I always think of Liza Minnelli in Arrested Development.
Oh yeah, right. The character's totally
Is it from the pills or is it what is
it? Great stuff. There we go. Let's hit it with the plugs, please, Forrest.
If you're watching us on YouTube, please like and subscribe, and then hit the bell to get notified whenever we're streaming. And we'd humbly request that you watch the video to the end, because it helps us with the algorithm and helps more film fans to discover the show. We're also monetized. If you want to get your chat questions definitely read on stream, you can always send us a super chat, which will help us keep the show going. Every cent helps. If you're watching on Twitch, you can gift us a free sub on Amazon Prime with your Prime membership, but getting subs on Twitch is always appreciated, and it helps to follow us on there as well. We also have an audio feed, which is available wherever you download podcasts, if you prefer to listen to podcasts rather than watch the stream. That's updated usually the same day we stream, but watching on YouTube and Twitch is the best way to get the show first, live as it happens. If you want to support us with a monthly donation and get access to all of our after parties forever, which go patron only after we do them, you can become a patron at patreon.com/movie night extra. Link is in the description for that. It really helps us keep the show going since we do have some expenses to make this happen. We also have a Discord community. Link is in the description for that. We sometimes watch movies we cover on there. We get into conversations about everything from film to TV shows to related podcasts. We even have a Discord channel for memes. It's really fun on there. You can find us on all the social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, Twitter, and Threads. You connect with us on all of those. Talk to us. We'd love to hear from you. Lastly, we recently made a TikTok at Movie Night Extra where we're putting up short form clips from the episodes. Okay, passing this to Conan so he can tell you about his music and this week's Protonic Reversal. Conan, who's on Protonic this week?
So I got Nathan Carson of Point Line Plane, Witch Mountain, and Nanoterror Booking. Great dude, very intelligent, very thoughtful guy. Prospective guest for this very show, actually. I think he wanted to do Mandy. But I like that guy a lot. Been meaning to have him on for years. Great first episode back for, I don't know, month and a half, however long I was gone. So that's up in the general feed as of this morning. And then, let's see, I've got the fellows of the band Neptune coming up. They're a Boston band. They homemade their own instruments out of, like, saws and crazy things like that. Really interesting band, interesting story behind them. Bob Bird of Sonic Youth and Chrome Cranks and John Spencer's band, so on and so on, coming up as well. Lots of great Protonics coming up. ProtonicReversal.com for the archives, all of that. $1 a month. Patreon.com/ProtonicReversal. Advance access. Back at it at the podcast factory, cranking them podcasts out. So go imbibe or don't, whatever. That's fine. Of course, tours over. Conan, Neutron, Secret Friends, still hawking those bags. I got them right here. There's one of the Who Dares shopping bags. They've been moving very nicely. The Death is Coming, Eat Trash, Be Free raccoons. Especially popular. So you can go to your, I don't know, local Whole Foods or whatever and buy some overpriced kale and put it in there. Or you know, other things as well. Someone's using for sewing.
Books.
That's great. Books, records, yeah, they're bags. What are you going to do? NeutronFriends.bandcamp.com to get those, as well as there's going to be an LP package that is going up at a discount that should be good value for the newcomers. We have a lot of new fans from the Red Cross tour, so notable. Hitting the East Coast into June, Youngstown, Ohio, Baltimore, Brooklyn, East Hampton, Boston, the last two with Miracle Blood. Should be great shows. Hope to see you out there. NeutronFriends.com for all those, for any of those places. Pretty close to you, Eileen. Not quite close enough, but, you know, unless you really want to make a drive. One of these days. One of these days. We have a West Coast tour that will be touching Redwoods on that is going to be end of August. Don't quite... maybe next week, a week after that to announce, but that'll be the very end of August as well. Of course, Caterwaul in full swing, 3-day passes. We're down to single digits when I checked before coming on stream for this. So if you're looking to go and you want to get 3-day passes, better act now, because it's the only way you're going to be able to get them for Friday, which is sold out. And Saturday and Sunday, it's going to be a Saturday and Sunday pass as well. About a month away for Caterwaul. It seems like Caterwaul comes earlier every year. Ironic, because it's actually a week later. So come check that out, caterwaul.org, if you're in the Minneapolis area or going to be traveling as such. Anything else? Nothing I can really speak of. We should probably mention, I'll just mention it here, that next week we have Josh Olson coming back for Charlie Varick, which is a interesting movie. If you ever want to see Walter Matthau act like a criminal, this is the movie you want to do. So it's like, okay, it's great. I enjoyed it. You got Joe Don Baker as a hitman. Okay,
it's on YouTube. I mean, I'll put it in the Discord for anyone who hasn't watched it to watch it.
Folks that follow along, oftentimes people will, even if they haven't seen the movie, they'll check out the show, so you can check it out ahead of time. And of course, Adam McKay, director Adam McKay, coming back to the show. And
so number 3 out of 170 more to go, right?
That's right. And we're doing Over the Edge, which I'm really excited about because I love that movie. And let's just say it was totally different than the other ones are being bandied about. But that's foundational Gen X cinema. Also really hard to find.
You're excited.
No, I mean, it's a little before I'm not quite that old, but it was like, but the generation before. I mean, it's like one of Matt Dillon's first roles. Like it's Interesting movie.
Matt Dillon, great artist. He does a lot of good stuff on his Instagram page. Highly recommend, and also anti-Trump stuff. So I'm like, cool.
There you go.
Yeah, I just rewatched. I got a log Drugstore Cowboy. That's one of my favorite Matt Dillon movies.
We should have we've never done Drugstore Cowboy.
Yeah, we've never done
totally
Drugstore Cowboy.
We should totally do that. Anyway, so now we're just chatting. Okay, so anyway, that's all my stuff. Kristina, what do you got?
I've been doing a lot of spring cleaning and streaming that. The other day, Michael Jackson on his YouTube channel has like all his music videos, and everyone agrees Speed Demon was a mistake because what the fuck was that music video? It's just claymation and him running around like a film studio. But like, I've been cleaning, doing laundry. Yesterday, because like when you're doing like chore streams, people just don't want to watch you like move around and not talk a whole lot. So I had stuff on. I can't
imagine wanting to watch somebody do chores.
That is so deeply not for me. Peace and love, Kristina. I love you to death. I would. It's not. I think I would watch. I would want to watch nobody do that.
Listen, my friend Marianne. Like I'm assuming a lot of people are banned in Hassan's chat. She has his stream on while she's doing chores and stuff. And
what is
she has like 300 people watching and talking.
I'm not built for this age. I don't think because I hear this and I'm like kind of mad but mostly perplexed.
It's called like coworker study. Like if Forrest was like,
I would detach my retinas willingly rather than watch that.
Probably watch Forrest edit stuff, like edit videos. Like people watch people do like their jobs and stuff like that. That there are people who watch DJs on stream. I'm like, hell yeah, party. But
claymation is the best. That may not be the lesson to be learned from this conversation, Jen. But I appreciate that. I do like claymation.
And then yesterday I had Scooby Doo. Where are you playing? On Tubi and
people watch Scooby Doo solve mysteries on stream, and you never. He's like,
I'm doing laundry,
and he's like, hey chat, who do you think the bad guy is? Sometimes,
do you think it's Mr. Henderson or the janitor? Okay,
or the butler. It's only joke about that. Also, I figured out that usually Thursdays through Mondays is when I'm going to stream at like 6 p.m. Start just do 6 p.m. Eastern streams. I never was like, Kristina, it's like the worst time to stream. Everyone and their mother's online, but like it's the best for me when I have a job and I can get sleep because I can't wake up at 12 a.m. stream at 2 a.m. to like 8 a.m. then go to work, and that's like 12. That's like most of the day. So it's like I just gotta stick with the evening schedule and hope for the best.
You're still doing the Absurdity Space, right? That's on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
Gonna be on
Forrest.
That's an actual show and not like something else happening in the background passively, right?
Yeah. And I think that girl Stephanie wants to come on, Forrest. That you and I know.
I'm down to that would be cool. She got laid off from Marvel, and it's like talk to her about that. There's I was gonna say tomorrow I'm mowing the lawn first thing in the morning. I was just imagining like, hey guys, hey chat, watch me stream as I mow the lawn.
It's probably huge. Apparently, all the stuff I think is stupid, people love.
There are people who watch like the animal sanctuary cams of like animals sleeping. Like you'd be amazed what people are into. It's crazy.
Maybe the internet was a mistake.
I 100% believe the internet was a mistake.
Yeah, and most of it's dead.
I'd rather, but let's go back to drinking from the hose.
Yeah, terrorists hate our freedom. I hate our freedom. This is what we're doing with
it. I'm excited to go over Met Gala. Looks so much bland.
So little time. Eileen, what do you got?
Recent pieces for Jacobin. One that's out is on the Corporate Thrillers series that's on Criterion Channel right now. Which I was very unfamiliar with. I had somehow skipped those films feeling I wasn't going to like them. They're better. A lot of the movies are actually better than I thought, though they're wholly inadequate in really representing the toboggan ride to hell we're actually on because of the turn in our society.
You know what did a better job? Us on Monday Night Extravaganza. We did the theme month on that. I think we did a much better job. Well, you were on for the last of it. You were on for Dumb Money.
Oh, right. I was. That's right.
I think we did a much better job of kind of showing the arc of it. But, maybe that's me. Maybe I have a very high opinion of this show.
So I wrote that. I've got a piece that hasn't come out yet. It's a longer piece on the Michael Jackson biopic because. And then for the Film Suck podcast, where of course are dealing with The Devil Wears Prada 2, which again it's also the other juggernaut international hit that is
are people digging it?
Maybe
way more interesting and way grimmer than I would have ever imagined possible. But it really,
I'm excited because Simone Ashley, Lady Bridgerton's in it, so I'm excited to see it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's really worth seeing. And I know there's a kind of male bias, a kind of general one against it. I've heard some very snarky remarks about like,
God forbid women have like chick flicks.
I know, and it's really amazing that this persists. It's absurd. I mean, how many Marvel movies have I seen? Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I don't have a bias against it. I just never saw the first one. I mean, I saw the memes and that was about it.
That was kind of like
my editor said I didn't even know it was now a franchise. He also never saw the first one. So
yeah,
I'm just like,
I mean,
I remember Meryl Streep thought she was too old for it the first time, which is like
that kind of helped revitalize her career, though.
Yeah, absolutely. That I remember.
And it's her finest turn, if you ask me.
Yeah, but like also that was a time where like Stanley Tucci started appearing in everything. That's just like late 2000s, 2010s. I'm like, damn, he's everywhere. Played a pedophile murderer and then a flamboyantly gay. Like, what's happening?
Yeah, but he apparently
I cannot watch that movie ever again. By the way,
like everyone from then on has assumed Stanley Tucci's gay, and he's not. And he was like,
no, he's so good at it.
Oh yeah, he
also played the best dad. And
he acted his way into typecasting himself somehow.
But as like a very classy gay man, and even Meryl Streep had to be like, there's a raw sexuality to Stanley Tucci that you don't understand.
Hey, well, all right, so. Should I watch Devil Wears Prada then? Is it a good movie?
Well,
I don't know.
It's a fan phenomena that somehow flew under the radar for a lot of people, even though it was huge and is built steadily over 20 years. So that now this film is just.
This is why people care about
it's
movies
colossal.
like that.
They literally, for the first time ever, have kicked off what's called the summer season, even though it starts in May. With a quote unquote chick flick. This is all they always start with, I don't know, a Fast and Furious movie, a Marvel superhero movie.
Mortal Kombat 2 is just around the corner. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it since like 2007, 2008. Like I watched it when it came out, but I remember it being pretty good.
Oh, it's good.
It's kind of the reason why we care about things like the Met Gala. It's like, oh, fashion, Vogue, and all that. So.
Well, at least, I mean, people cared about it, before, but it definitely brought it back. Like, it brought back that sense of like, because she's clearly supposed to be like Anna Wintour or whatever. Like,
worse, always the worst dress at her own like events too. Like, what the fuck? Anyway,
that is that is
expect that to turn catty at the end, but there we are.
That is kind of its own flex. Like that is like there's a look that for a long time fashion designers had where they would just be dressed in black, and it's like
that's still typical. You'll see them in very quiet outfits while other people are
fucking Jeff Bezos' new wife wore the most boring black dress in the Met Gala. I was like,
all right, so all this is advance hype for your column on Devil Wears Prada 2 that's coming out in Jacobin. It was in the middle of your plugs. Or was that a film psych episode? I lost track.
It was a film psych episode.
Okay, cool. All right.
I also persuaded my editor, who again didn't want to have me write about it, that I should write about it. Because he was just like, is that a thing? And I'm like, it's a thing. Yes, it's a thing.
All right.
Anyway, carry on.
The socialist case for
care about the Met Gala.
Again, this movie is taking on like the fashion industry is getting killed. The magazine is folding. Journalism is dying. It's like really going into the grim realities of.
So now it sounds more interesting to me. Yeah, that sounds interesting.
The first one, it's like the whole thing is Meryl Streep treats everybody like shit, but especially Anne Hathaway, and just like engages.
And she still does. Just kidding.
It's like but like engages in like an almost sadomasochistic, employer-employee relationship with her. I remember just be like, she's so mean.
Key delights of the film. Yeah.
All right, Eileen, you got final thoughts on Vertigo, which is the movie we're ostensibly discussing?
It's a must-see for anyone interested in cinema. It's Alfred Hitchcock working at the absolute peak of his form, being more daring and more inventive than perhaps in any of his other films. But if you haven't seen it before, you cannot bring a literal-minded, I need to understand the plot as somehow logical, blah, blah, blah. It's not how it functions. Hitchcock was invested in psychosexual disturbance, and that is what the movie's about. So if you can get into that, this is your movie, and it's legendary for a reason, so see it.
There we go. Kristina.
Like, this is Hitchcock at his finest and obviously his most classic. When we think of Hitchcock, we think of the string of hits he had in the 50s to like the early 60s. And I always tell people, like, you know, if you've seen The Birds or you're going to love all of Hitchcock's films. And this is just one of those where everything, the editing, the camera work, the cinematography, everything is just peak Hitchcock here. And again, I always highly recommend it. If you love something that's, you know, not boring, a nice color palette, Vertigo. And you won't even get Vertigo when you watch it.
You might be a little dizzy. Right, exactly. And there's a reason why, you know, when there's young up and coming filmmakers like Jordan Peele or whatnot, like, you know, that have this level of craftsmanship that we're like, oh, it's kind of Hitchcock-esque, right? You know, it's for a good reason. Good reason. All right, so I'm closing this out. Great, amazing uses of color, incredible SF locations, the sound, the score in this. It's one of the best movies about obsession ever. I still think it's insane that Hitchcock wasn't thinking of Kim Novak originally, because she's perfect in every way in this. It's like one of the great castings.
It would have been weird with Vera Miles.
I don't get it. I don't get it. I love that, as a director, he hated shooting on locations and preferred to do it on set, yet you get the iconic, you know, San Juan Bautista, the Redwoods. It's one of the great on-location movies, and there's multiple sites dedicated towards the Vertigo then and now sort of visuals where it'll show you what it looks like now versus what it looks like then, and for good reason. It's really fascinating. So much innovation here, like the dolly zoom, you know, amazing. The restoration is really something to behold. Highly recommend it if you can watch the restored version. I totally get the obsession with Kim Novak. Believe me, I get it. But our girl Midge got done wrong. I'm just saying.
Justice for Midge, hashtag.
Right, exactly. It's a slow build. It's also a lovely time capsule. I love it. I'm glad we finally got around to doing it. It's great to have you on for it, Eileen.
Oh, it's been great to be here. It really has.
All right. Well, we'll be back next week with Josh Olson and then Adam McKay. We have a stacked month coming up for you guys.
For a serious movie podcast and such.
No after party tonight because I am sleepy.